You talk about your father and mother. It's priceless, thank you. You talk about prayer. In the book, we talk about Lucifer, the light bearer. Is Lucifer the light bearer?
I believe that the Bible states that Lucifer was the angel of light. So I guess however
I'm not asking about the
use,
Bible. Like, thanks for trying to teach me, give me a theology lesson. I mean, I'm glad that all that research I did paid off, but I'm asking you, who the fuck is the devil? Who is Lucifer? Am I doing his work for him? Am I fucking up and getting into people's heads? Maybe I'm gonna turn some kid into a satanic punk who's gonna fucking climb into some school window and start blowing away students and asking them, do you believe in God? And if they say yes, he'll shoot the back of their skull out of their head.
I don't believe that it's because of one person's influence as to why someone does something along those lines. I believe that yes, it is, a evil that seems to possibly.
I wrote about evil because it's a market and because it's something that people are curious about. Okay? You are a pastor's daughter. You read these books on the apocalypse. And they don't really touch up on this because I've read the books myself, especially when I was the director of sales and marketing for a Pentecostal pastor that had his books translated into Chinese and Spanish because the market was so large. Who the fuck is Lucifer? And am I responsible for promoting his word?
I think that depends on your perception of it. If you think that
But I'm asking you.
For me, no, I don't think that you are. I think that people that intentionally try to instill evil and wrong in other people, that maybe they're helping him out a little bit, but I don't think that he really needs our help for anything. I think that he can do it all on his own.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not teaching prayer like you just were, and I'm not even teaching how to be a good parent or how to be a good daughter. I'm teaching that Lucifer is the light bearer, that Lucifer has gotten his minions and used the leadership of Manson to influence kids into doing all kinds of diabolical things to themselves, like slicing, backmasking, voodoo, black magic, Wicca, and so based on your knowledge and expertise, what should we be aware of? Because you seem to believe in something that you're not, like...
I think that Lucifer is real. I definitely believe that he is out there in different forms. I'm
going to make you responsible for the chapter on Lucifer. Right? Who is Lucifer?
Lucifer is the evil in everything, and I think that it's like the good in everything is God, the evil in everything is Lucifer.
He's the father in New Orleans that took his son by the legs and swung him around, crushed his head against us.
Exactly.
He's the guy that raped the 6-year-old girl, fucked her up the ass, and then buried her alive in his backyard.
Yeah, that to me is Lucifer. That to me is his power. I think that he's more powerful than we like to give him credit for.
Then why would you like this book?
Because I think that it could potentially open my eyes and my mind to other things.
What if I fuck you up?
I think that I'm a strong enough person that you couldn't influence me in any other way.
But there are kids out there that aren't, and they're mentally disturbed, and they don't have money for medication, and there's no counseling, there's no parental guidance, there's no school. You got both parents working, you got single mothers that spend about 20 minutes a week with their kids, especially the waitresses I met in Vegas. I'm going to influence them. I'm going to sell my book to them. And I don't even have to work that hard because there's this singer who calls himself the Antichrist who's going to fucking push it with just his mere action. I mean, he was at Disneyland with like the top-rated movie star of 2006. what should we worry about this?
I think that, I think that, yeah, it should be a concern, definitely, because it's like anything, there's certain things that are for certain people. You don't let a 14-year-old sit and watch, porn on pay-per-view because it's just not for them. You know what I mean? There's a reason for, our laws of the land, I guess.
Honey, I'm sorry. I gotta remind you, Jenna Jameson is mainstream. She's in the fucking New York Times. In fact, the New York Times writer helped ghostwrite her million copy bestseller. I mean, porn is.
Yeah, porn is very prominent. I agree.
Oh
with
yeah,
that,
6-year-old kids are watching it right now online.
I know, and that to me is, a little sad. I think that I don't think that it can be blamed on one specific person. I don't think that it's your fault or that it's
your fault for getting on stage tonight.
No, I don't. I think that it's a personal choice for everyone, and we've all been given that free will to choose whatever we want to do with our lives and what choices we want to make. If the guy out there on stage wants to tip me $100 bill and know that I'm in a relationship and go home to his girlfriend or wife later, then that's his prerogative. You know what I mean?
Okay. I just got to ask you, Miss Forensic Psychiatrist. You got all light and fluffy there talking about the love of your parents, and that was a given. Like, you're going to fucking cherish them and treasure them. You're going to teach your grandchildren to treasure them. Then I get into the light bearer, the light cracking through the window, the first thing that fucking hits you, and parents mutilating their own children. And then I walk over and I close the door so nobody can really see or hear what we're talking about. And you like sort of tense up. Okay? So it's interesting. What are we doing here? You know what I mean? That's what I mean. There's this weird dichotomy, and there's this people sort of look at you and they're like, is she a sinner or is she an angel? Does she wear white wings or black wings? Is she really reading the wolf in sheep's clothing, or is she a child of God? Is she a good Christian, or is she doing the work of Satan and she just doesn't know it?
Yeah,
and
that are all questions that I've definitely had to address for myself, given my own spiritual beliefs.
And you're not like prescribing lithium right now. I mean,
no.
That's some heavy shit.
No, I think that for me, this is simply a job. This is not my life. This is not my lifestyle. Obviously, I mean, I don't look like, like you said before, I don't look like a dancer. I don't portray that image. And this is a way for me to pay my bills. And I don't have any guilt for what I do, simply because I know that God loves me regardless, that I'm not doing anything wrong. I have that peace in myself. And some people don't find that peace. And I've been lucky enough to have found it, I guess. So
when you walk out that door, what are you going to think about this interview?
I'm going to be kicking myself in the ass for crying on camera. But
really, why? I gotta, you just fucking threw me for a loop again. I mean,
because
there was nothing wrong with that.
Well, I know there's nothing wrong with it.
No, there was nothing wrong with, okay, we're not talking about like the water consolidation of like saltine solution near the glands of your fucking pupils, okay,
right,
that run down your cheeks. We're not talking about like the elasticity of your skin and how it doesn't retain water, okay? We're talking about the fact that, like, man, you really care, and you're just fucking honest, sincere. Like, to you, lying or making up something would be a sin. Like, to not cry would be a blasphemy, as opposed to like keeping inside. That sensitivity, it's not rare, but it's unique enough in a situation like this, where we're talking about like rock music and Manson and books and stripping, that it shows not an ounce of weakness, but more or less it's to your credit that you're like, okay, I mean, okay, some girls will be like, yeah, I'm a stripper, and fucking rip off their shirt. It's like, see? And I'm natural. And we're like, yeah, you are. Holy fuck. And some girls will be like, yeah, see, I'm a Manson fan. And they'll fucking roll up their shirt and show me where, like, Manson signed his autograph on their shoulder. And then they ran to a tattoo artist in Greenwich Village and had it fucking tattooed on their skin so that when they're 68, they're going to have the scribble mark that looks like somebody just slept with a pen attached to their arm. It's just weird.
Right.
And to make a long fucking diatribe short, you are like, man, I got a lot to say, and this is what I have to say, and it's fucked up. And we didn't even really touch on it, but you sort of put your hands on, like, let me tell you a little story. I went to the Sistine Chapel, and I was in Rome, and they said, oh, see up there, see God and Adam, and how God's finger's touching Adam, and so like they show the finger and it's touching Adam, and they say, it's not touching though, it's not touching, and we're like, what? And they're like, if you notice, it's not touching because the artist thought that God had so much power that he couldn't touch, that because of too much power, it'd obliterate Adam, that he could just give him, like, just the nearness would alleviate life, okay? Now, you're sort of touching on what so many kids we're finding out are dealing with, being bullied. 1 out of 15 girls getting beaten up before they get into high school. Kids that, like, stay home and practice the guitar because they can't stand to go around that fucking corner on the way to school where they get the wind knocked out of them by getting kicked in the fucking stomach. And we're not talking bruised ribs, we're talking like concussions, broken bones. And you sort of went into that, but I didn't want to violate that, so I didn't.
I was never physically attacked by any means.
Okay, so you didn't get a scratch,
no,
but instead, like,
it was
you
more
were
of emotional.
An emotional head fuck. Right? So, yeah, so instead of, like, getting kicked in the shin, somebody decided to put a screwdriver in the back of your skull and just be like, take this if you ever decide to do better than me in math.
Right. Well,
That's cool.
I think that everyone goes through some form of that, whether it be as an adult, whether it be as a child.
They don't. No, it's a very American thing. And I love this country and I love what I'm seeing, but I can tell you right now that it's a very American thing.
It's a competition for everyone.
Like, there's a certain thing about people from Alaska, a certain thing about people from Texas, a certain thing about kids in Long Island surf and kids in California surf, but they treat each other totally differently. In other countries, people really, sometimes they're perplexed by how we fucking act towards each other.
Right. I think that it's unfortunate. I really do. I think that society has.
Well, I think it's unfortunate what happened to you.
Joneses, who can do better than them. You know what I mean? You gotta always try to keep up with everybody else, and that causes this mentality of, well, if they're doing better than me, or if there's a potential of them, succeeding in this, or they're prettier than me, or they're this or that. They're different. People in America have a fear of anything that they don't understand. If they don't understand it or it's different than them, then they're automatically against it, automatically fearful of it, and immediately want to degrade it and want to put it down.
Do your parents feel the same as me?
About?
Well, you said earlier, like, God, your parents feel like they did something wrong. And, I do too. I mean, I didn't spend like 16 years of my life with you, but I made you cry. I made you, I cracked you, And so, do you think your dad feels that way? Is he just like, oh man, like...
I think to an extent he does. I think maybe he's coming around to the thought that it's not his fault for me being gay, that I am who I am regardless of whatever choices he could have made. I think that he made all the right choices, in fact. I mean, I wouldn't change anything about my life. Not one iota. I wouldn't change anything about where I'm at now, or my past, or the bullying, or anything, because it made me who I am today.
In the book of Ephesians, it's only about 4 pages long, so a lot of us try to memorize it. I was the only one that couldn't. But there's a phrase in there that says, you know, like, we are made in God's workmanship to do great works, and in His name. And with the translation into the Greek, in which it was originally written as poema, like the modern day word poem. So it's not really workmanship as much as it's poem. Like, we're God's poem,
Right.
created in His perfect image. Like, your life is quite a lyric. It's on that line of poetry. I mean, are you just going to sit back and not really do anything about it and just continue to keep telling these stories? Or do you think that you might touch upon that pen to paper one day?
I write songs. I play guitar, like you were talking about, sitting in the corner playing guitar. You know, I like to think that I'm really not that good at writing, though. I better at speaking than I am putting it on paper. You know.
So you're not going to do anything with these gifts?
No, you know, I would love to do something with it. I just think that maybe it's not the right time at this specific moment to.
I guess there's really nobody out there you could help, huh? Nobody who would.
No, I know that there's tons and tons of people that I could help. I just wish that I had more talent when it came to actually writing things down and putting it on paper and making it worth reading, you know.
So after this interview, you still doubt that you might be a poor communicator?
No, I think I'm a great communicator vocally. I think that verbally speaking, I can say anything and everything.
Okay, so catch. That's a Sony voice recorder. It does with the memory card that it has in it now, it's about 70 hours worth of recording. In fact, you can even train a software on your computer so that it'll dictate your voice out. It's like exactly what you say. Sometimes it makes a mistake, like instead of saying I turned right, it said I tuna can. Okay, but I've spent a lot of time with you, and I've watched you cry, and I've watched you talk about prayer and Lucifer and Satan and your parents, your grandfather, and I want to know what's stopping you. Oh, and I forgot. I mean, sorry. Yeah, maybe it's the money, huh? Because you're only making like a few $1,000s a night on stage.
I
What
wish
am I
that's what I
thinking?
was making. No.
What's stopping you from helping out? I mean, you don't think you think your parents wouldn't like to read the fact that you love them, but you're just like.
I think it's probably fear, like it is with anybody else. It's a fear.
Yeah.
So.
If you're like getting on stage naked.
That's different, though. A lot of people don't understand that, but it's completely different. I can't control whether or not a guy likes me. I can't control that.
I tried joining the Navy a few months ago, and they told me I was too fat, like by 80 pounds. I'm a fat fucking pig. Believe me, getting up on that stage, it would be a hard thing to do with clothes. It would be a hard thing to do in a 3-piece fucking suit. Okay? You're up there, butt naked. Do you put oil on before you even get up there? I mean, okay. So, yeah, that's right. I'm sorry, I forgot who I was talking to. Yeah, you should be afraid of writing your memoir.
I would love to write a memoir. I definitely would. And I think that.
So when are we going to pick it up on the shelves?
As soon as it can be done.